Right, I'm going to shock you now. That's a 24 plate. Okay. If this has got many miles in it, I'll be surprised. That's got 728 miles and it's 8.5 grand. That's got to be bargain of the year, isn't it? Right, hello everybody. So yes, I've had my ears lowered before anybody says anything. I need to get my hair cut before my adventure next month, or nearly next month now. So anyway, enough of that. So I'm back out, beautiful day, sunny day. God, it was cold this morning though. There was frost everywhere again, blimey. So Superbike Factory, Crawley, West Sussex. So something I've been wanting to do for a while, but I thought it was good to let them settle down. They didn't open until January at some point, so they've been going in a month or a couple of months. So just to let it settle down and then go in and have a proper look, because I wanted to get a real idea of what they do there, what they seem to be about, and possibly dispel a few myths that may be going about not prepping the bikes and high prices, and they're just a credit company, which they are to a point. And I've also said it before, they're just selling credit, which they are. But I think it was important to see for myself what's going on there, and makes it sound like it was some sort of really weird cult going on. But have a look at it and then report back and give you my conclusions on it. And I think you might be surprised about what I say in the end. So hope you enjoy the video. But we'll start with an initial look around, and we'll look at some of the bikes and the prices and all the rest of it, and look at some of the stock, and then I'll keep interjecting back into the round tree on this lovely sunny day. So hope you enjoy it. I'm hoping it's not going to be too long. So right, shut up, Paul. So let's get on with it. Right, I'll see you again in a sec. Right, here we are, Superbike Factory, and blimey, is it a factory? There's some bikes in here. So they very kindly let me film in here. So thanks very much to the staff here. Lovely. And I thought what I'd look at is obviously some of the bikes that I know rough prices for, that I expect on the market, and what they're doing for here, but just get an idea of how this all works. They tend to, I think they're grouping them in makes rather than styles a little bit. I mean, you've got BMWs down here, you've got a big KTM section, Ducati section, stuff like that. Maybe they are slightly in styles. They seem to have the adventure bikes in the middle up here, and then you've got scooters, sports bikes, classics over there trying to look at those. But let's have a wander around. I'll pick out some of the bikes I think, wow, that's actually seems like a good deal, and to give you an idea of not how they're making the money, but how the things are working. And this is a bike I picked up very early on as a walker, and I like these. Is it because of the gold wheels I got suckered in, didn't I? But these are very pretty, these F850 GSs. I really like this. So yeah, you can try and guess the price before I look at it. So this is, I mean, it's certainly tidy. It certainly looks tidy. Great colour. Let's have a look. Registration says 68 plate, whatever that is. Oh, 68 plate. I mean, it's clean. Tubeless tyres or tubeless rims. What do you think a bike like this would cost you then? Any guesses? Let's have a look. 7 grand. So that's the cash buy it price. So do you think that's a good price? So what they do with all these bikes is you get, if you want it on credit, if your credit's good, you're looking at £152 a month. If credit's bad, £195. So I'm not going to criticise that. I'm just going to say, it gives people an opportunity to get into the motorbiking market, does it? If you're young, you haven't got a good credit rating, all the rest of it, you're going to pay up for that, aren't you, at the end of the day? But I think if you come in as a cash buyer, I think seven's pretty good for that. Have a quick look on there. The other thing I've noticed on some of the bikes, obviously they're buying bikes with all the kit on, so people have already accessorised. So this has got the Motorrad sat nav and stuff on it, as long as along the other bit. So you're getting all that buck-she really, which is pretty good, isn't it? Because those sort of things are quite expensive options on bikes. Let's continue our wander down. So what we got here? So we got GS. Is this a 1250 GS? No, 1200 GS. So again, nice looking bike, tidy. Probably not going to have a lot of miles on it. I mean, there's a few of these GSs here. What we got? 09 plate. So knocking on a little bit, isn't it? Let's have a look. 6991. Interested in their pricing, isn't it? 12,000 miles. So that doesn't seem like a huge amount of money to me. We've got a slightly later GS 1200 next to it. What year is this? It's hard to see the year on it, so it's a 17 plate. 83, 17,000 miles. I think if you wanted a, so it's a place because you've got what, 1, 2, 3, 4 GSs here. Sorry, 5 GSs here. All in varying sort of states of year and all the rest of it. 69, what's that? 13 plate, 69, 21,000 miles. So well catered for on the GS front. I think if you couldn't find an adventure bike that would do the job for you, I think you'd be quite interesting, wouldn't it? So yeah, there's a lot of stuff here, a lot of stuff. Right. Again, if you look at the bikes, you've got this situation where you've got lots of accessories on them, because they're buying them. They might be trade sales and stuff like this. They're coming with all the kit, panniers. Look at this. They're V-Strom 1000. You've got three panniers sat on there. Don't even look like they've been used. I mean, that's pretty clean, isn't it, for V-Strom? What would you pay for that? Let's have a look. Adventure Tourer. 5591. 14,000 miles. That's a lot of bike for the money. To my mind, that's a lot of bike for the money. And I'll tell you what, that's blooming clean. That is blooming clean. It's interesting, isn't it? Let's look at this pricing that they have there. I wanted to say dynamic pricing, that's to do with tickets, isn't it? It sounds like a good word to use. So when you look at those tickets, you'll have 3 prices on there essentially, or 3 figures if you like. So you'll have the buy it now price, if you like, the cash price, which in the first instance, I would say about the whole bikes as general, they are very, very keenly priced. They're not taking you for a ride on the pricing, but I'll talk a bit more about that later. But I wanted to look at the structuring of where they put 2 prices in there. So you've got the good credit price and the bad credit price. Interesting terminology, that, isn't it? But it's easy to understand, isn't it? They're not fooling you at the end of the day. It's a bit funny you getting labelled a little bit of bad credit, but anyway. So let's look at that. So what are you actually paying? What is your credit rate? What is the interest you're paying? That's the important one. And are they charging you a lot for credit on those bikes? Because, and I've said this before in my videos, the SUPERBIKE Factory are really just a credit company, and they're just selling you credit rather than motorbikes. So, but as we come to the end of this, you'll see that I've changed my mind a little bit on that. So the interest rate, their base interest rate starts at 9.9%. That's as of yesterday. So, we're getting towards pretty much the last day of February now. So 9.9% for good credit. Is that a lot? Excuse me. Not really. Not in the whole scheme of things. You're your base rate, bank base rate, interest rate is about 6% and above. So I think for a credit company, that's actually not that bad. You know, we're not in the area of, you know, payday loans and this sort of stuff. You know, we used to get, you know, like interest rate 1.1258%. You know, because it was easier to say 1.258 than 1,258% interest. So we're nowhere in that sort of ballpark. So I think the good credit, let's say, rate is actually okay. I think you'd find that in any number of hire purchase type schemes, cars and all that sort of thing. Very, very similar. They're not shooting above the market rate. The higher rates, I don't know. But looking at the price tags, you can see that it is quite a jump. And I would have thought you'd be, well, I'll be guessing in sort of 20% sort of stuff. But I don't know that, so, you know, don't take that as gospel. So the 9.9% is not excessive by any means. But you do have those three. The only thing they don't give you really is they won't, if you do it on credit, they won't tell you what you would end up paying. You've got to sit there and work it out. So they're slightly sanitizing the pricing on the bikes just by giving you a monthly figure, which you can then, I suppose, budget for. But I do think it's quite important that you should, you know, add up how many of those payments you've got to make, including your deposit, etc., and what your final price will be, because it will be, you know, reasonably in excess of the cash buy price. But that's all I would say on the credit price at the moment. Let's have a bit more of a look around. You've got a whole raft of these beasts here, these insects. What have we got here? That's a, yeah, 23 plate. See, 23 plate, 777. What is it? That's a 890 Adventure, 3,000 miles on it. I think the problem with the KTMs will be is that the, you know, KTM are putting some big price reductions in, aren't they? So will make it difficult to sell. This is another one I'm moaning about all the accessories though. So you look at that. That's an 890 Adventure with all the luggage on it. And I think that's what I'd look for if I was buying a bike here. I'd look for something with all the accessories on it. So what we've got there. Wow. So it's a 22 plate, 400 miles on it, 7,790. That looks like a bargain to me. That looks like a real bargain. They're around a Ducati, KTM. I think I should. I don't think I'd worry too much about the issues with it. Maybe. Well, that's big luggage. But that's essentially a brand new bike, isn't it? Absolute brand new bike, really. Cool. All right, let's have a look at some of the modern classics then. So we've got things like Bonneville's T120s. Again, accessories. Pannier racks. These alone are probably 120 quid. A tank pad. That's, I think, the touring seat. Loads of bits on it. What year are we on here? Private plate. Nice colour. Let's have a look. So 8591. I'll put my glasses down. 21 plate. Is that 21? And that's got 4,000 miles. So here's another Triumph then. So we've got Speed Twin. So Speed Twins are not that expensive, are they? New. We've got a 20 plate there. That's got custom pipes on, custom seat, custom screen. Wow. Nice, all in black. A lot of bits on that. Let's go around the front and see what the price is. Right, so front of the bike, yeah. So we've got, not too sure on that screen, but yeah, bar end mirrors, all the bits. So there's a lot of accessories, and let's see what we got. So 20 plate, mileage, 852. It's a new bike. Essentially, that's a new bike for 8491. So this really started to dawn on me as I started to walk around these accessories. Now, and we have to look at how they price their bikes to understand this a little bit. So when you look at these bikes, and a lot of these bikes where you have multiples of very similar bikes, you know, they're clumping them together in certain genres, I suppose, some in makes and genres. So some of the bikes had an awful lot of accessories on there, extras, which, you know, their lovely previous owners would have stuck onto those bikes. Panniers, racks, sat nav on some of them, you saw on that BMW, all sorts of things, touring seats and stuff. And you know how much that stuff costs, particularly panniers on adventure bikes. You know, you've got to buy the racking fitments and all the rest of it. And what's very interesting is that you're not paying for that, really. From my look at those bikes, though, you can look at 5 GSs and think, well, why is the one with all the bits on it the same price for the one without all the bits on it? Pretty much, you know, there might be a little variance, but not a lot, because there would be other variables, might be year and mileage. It's because the way that they price their bikes is to go on the shelf, which makes it simple, is year and mileage. So that's a very simple way of pricing your bikes. It's year and mileage. And what you've got to understand about and we'll talk about trading bikes later, you never recover your money from your bits you put on your bike. You know, I bought this Interceptor for a price I thought was very reasonable at the time, and it included the Hepco Becker panniers. Now, those panniers with the racks are about £600, £500, £600. The people that sold their bike into the dealer for this bike would not have recovered the cost of those bags. It might have factored a little bit if they were trying to do a deal on another bike, but that's what they're doing. So when you take your bike in for a trade in there, you might as well take all your bits off it, because it's not going to affect the price, really. Not really. You might think it does, but it doesn't. So, because when it gets retailed, if they took all the bits off these bikes, they just have a whole stack of bits that they got to sell. So you might as well just, one lot, you get rid of the whole, as it comes in, you get rid of the whole lot with it. So yes, the accessories on the bikes were very interesting, and I think it's really worth looking at. If you've got 2 or 3 the bikes you're looking at, see what accessories you might want to buy afterwards and factor in the cost of that, adding that to the bike. Because I think that made that very appealing, some of those bikes, that the cost was, the accessories made a big difference to the value of that bike for you as a buyer, not as a seller. Doesn't make any difference to you as a seller. You're never going to recover the cost of your accessories. But as a buyer, I think it would make a huge difference. So that was just another point I wanted to make around the accessories, really. But let's carry on looking. So you're well catered for here. I mean, I don't think there's any genre of bike you couldn't find here. I really don't. You know, something like that, under sub 10 grand. Lifetime of touring a bike like that. And you've got some random stuff. Some of it's older, but it's almost classic now. What's that? 09 plate. 3000, 333, F800 ST. Good bikes. Phasers, K1200s. Victory, blimey, that's an unusual bike to find in a place like that. Victory motorcycles, well thought of, the Victories. This can be yours. 11 plate for under 6 grand. NC750X in the blue. Pretty immaculate. Pretty tiny. What we got there? 21 plate. Right. So that's so this is the last one before the very latest 2025 model. What we got there? What mileage we got on that? Right. So we've got 1,200 miles, 21 plate, and that's 5886. And this takes me back to I was talking about the The NC750X is 2024 models pre-registered at 6,500. You know, I mean, this essentially is a pretty new bike, isn't it? Manual box, which is what I'd have. But 21 plate, 3 year newer, you can save £1,000. Interesting, isn't it? I think it's worth dispelling a myth at the moment, which I've seen repeated a few times, and some comments of other channels that have done they're saying that you're not allowed to sit on the bikes and everything. That's not the case as far as I'm aware. You can sit on the bikes, but you have to have one of the assistants with you. I think that's partly to do with safety, because the bikes are so, they've got to be pulled out really for you to sit on it, and they would have that domino effect on it. I think you have to be very, very careful. So, and that's understandable. And I want to say something else about the staff there. Nobody was constantly coming to me saying, can I help you, can I help you? Because it was only one member of staff that I really spoke to about the filming. And, there were a few staff buzzing around, but there was no hard sell. Triumph bobber. I mean, you don't see Triumph bobbers for less than that in the UK, do you, really? I don't think that's about as cheap as a bobber's going to get here at the moment in the UK. Nice little rack on the back as well. Again, accessories. This is what you're getting here. Pannier racks. These are all expensive accessories at the end of the day. What's the mileage on this puppy? 5,500 miles. Again, just running, isn't it? Right, so here's a couple of bikes we were talking about in the previous episode. R9T. So this gives you an idea that you are paying market price. So let's have a look. So 65 plate, and that is 6791. I've got a buzzard calling now, doing its peeler as it goes across. So what did I change any perceptions? And I did have some perceptions about Superbike Factory when they after my visit. Yes. So certainly the pricing. I think the pricing is incredibly keen, and for a cash buyer, I think you can do a really good deal there. I think the selection of bikes, the amount of bikes you got there was very good. They're holding about 350 bikes in stock, but they can take about 450, so they're always looking for more bikes. The interesting thing is that their turnover of bikes, the amount of bikes they're selling in a month, is well in excess of 100. So when you've got a stock level of about 350 bikes, they're easily turning over a third of their stock every month, which to me sounded really good, and there were a lot of bikes in sectioned off areas which were sold awaiting collection. So, they must be doing something right. What about the condition of the bikes? A lot of people have said, they don't prep their bikes, and, they're pretty crappy condition-wise. Well, I didn't see a dirty bike there. All the bikes I saw, when you look at the amount of bikes they got, were all in nice condition, were all presented nice. There was the odd scrappy bike. I did show you it in the Honda section, was a really rather nasty NC700, which I'm surprised they put it on the floor actually. And when you looked at the price of that, you thought, well, they're just pricing it year and mileage, so it would come out odd. That bike was it was a sub £1,000 bike in my mind. So, that'll sit there and that'll disappear at some point. It was very rusty and very poor condition. But that was the only bad bike I saw there, and I thought I'm not sure why they would have that on the floor really. Because you could be sure that the trading price was nothing on that, absolutely nothing. I think it was just under £3,000 or something silly. But you'll see that on the video. So what's the kicker then? So, because I'm giving the impression that this was actually a really good experience, and it was a good experience, and I was very, I won't say shocked, but pleasantly surprised at that place. And I'll give you my two favourite bikes at the end that I saw there that I thought, whoa, I wouldn't mind that. So I think what happens with the experience of going to a place like Superbike Factory is that you look at the great value, the good value prices, the retail prices, that cash buy price, and then you think, oh, that's the bike for me, I'll have that bike. And then you've got your bike that you might go and trade in. Now, I was told completely truthfully, that, and it is bore out on their website, and this is what I was told, and I don't doubt this for 1 minute, is that the trading values are lower than you would get anywhere else really at a normal dealer. They're going to give you certainly a few £100 less for your bike than you would get somewhere else. And he was very upfront about that. And you know, they're not a charity, they're a business. So with any deal, I think you're going to get hit at one end or the other. You're either going to pay a high price for your purchase, and you might get a better trade-in, or you're going to pay less for the purchase and get a lower trade-in. It's got to shift in the same relative space. So the trade-ins are going to be much lower for your bike. And I think once this is the problem, isn't it? Sometimes is that you can go to a dealer, you can see a bike, oh, that's what I want, great price, and then you get the value on your bike, and you think, oh, and it's completely deflating, and you either accept it as part of life or you get upset about it, and then you're in this problem, this sort of odd battle, aren't you, with the dealer and you, and you're picking me up one end and you're kicking me in the nuts the other side. So, but that's business, unfortunately. And we all know that if we retailed our bikes privately, we would always do much better. Generally, we'll do much better. So that's just the pitfalls of going into a dealership like that. You're going to get kicked a little bit with your trade-in. And then once you then look at if you're getting credit, you look at the overall price that you're going to pay. Let's say you're buying a bike for £5,000 off the floor, and you end up having to pay £6,500 for that bike, you know, over the period, or maybe more than that, depending what your credit rating is. It doesn't sound so good. Of course, once you've then bought it, if you then decide to trade that bike in, you're going to get kicked the same way as you did with the original trade-in. So don't think because you ended up paying £6,500 for a £5,000 bike off the floor, you're going to get that value back. You've already lost the credit, the interest. You've lost that the day you walk out the shop. So you have to think, well, it was a £5,000 bike that I bought. The trade in that bike might only be £3,000, whatever it is. So you are going to get hit hard. If you're of a very sensitive disposition, don't ask a shop like that for the trading value on your bike, because it's going to be very low, unfortunately. But when that bike goes back out on the floor, somebody's going to pick up a bargain, because it's going to be priced accordingly to year and mileage. So if you ask me, would I buy a bike from Superbike Factory on the basis of going in that shop? Yes, I would. But I would be a cash buyer. I would go in there with pound notes in my pocket, look at a bike and pick the one I wanted with all the bells and whistles on it as best I could, etc. Because I think you could do very, very well. I think you could do very well. When you look at the bikes that we buy, or the bikes that we ride these days, you know, you're looking at my demographic. You know, we quite often change our bikes more than we change our underpants. So, you know, the mileage on the bikes that we ride and sell can be very, very low. You know, this bike, if I sell this bike this year, this will have probably 5,000 miles on it, which is not a lot, is it? So, you know, it's still got tons of life in it, and it would have had two owners. So, yeah, I looking at a lot of the bikes in there, the bikes had very low mileage, and that's not because they're bad bikes. That's just because that's the way we buy and ride bikes. So, warranty-wise, then let's have a quick talk about warranty. So what do the warranty they give? Well, they give 30 days on warranty on their bikes. All the bikes they sell go 30 days. So my advice would be, if you're going to buy a bike, get it out, ride the hell out of it for 30 days. Make sure there's nothing coming up that's problematic. What they do have in that Crawley branch is they do have a service centre where they do the warranty repairs and they do MOTs and stuff, which quite a few of the other outlets don't have. Because where they took over P&H, they kept the service department. So they do have quite a big service department, and they will do the work there. So it wasn't instantly visible there, but they do have it. It's at the back. I think it is a safe place to buy bikes from my look there. But again, it's my experience, not anybody else's. But I will say that I did meet one chap as I pulled up outside, and another chap pulled outside on a very nice Kawasaki, couple of year old. And he said, I bought this here yesterday or the day before. I love it. The experience of buying the bike there was excellent, simple, straightforward. I'm really happy. You know, you'd only had a bike 48 hours, but you know, 2-year-old bike with hardly any miles in it, what can really go wrong? It was Japanese. So select your bikes carefully, look over, don't go on just price alone. Look at the condition of the bike, the accessories which are on it makes a big difference. Have a look how you think the bike might have been looked after. You know, if it's got certain things in it like comfort seats and stuff like that, then you might think, well, it might be somebody who actually liked a bit of touring and riding in comfort and looked after their bike a little bit. If it's got, you know, extraordinary exhaust pipes on it to make it really loud and the rest of it, you might think, well, maybe that hasn't been looked after so well. That's a sweeping statement, but you know what I mean. If I was going to buy a bike, I'd go midweek where it's quiet, where you can have a nice quiet walk round. There's a fantastic cafe just around the corner. You've got Charlie's, I think it is, and just around, great cafe. But I think it will be a good experience if you go with an open mind and a wallet full of cash. I think you do better. If you don't need the credit from there, if you need to borrow money and you've got reasonable credit, go to your bank. I think that would be my point, because you will save yourself money in the long run. But watch the trade-in values. They're going to be a little bit tight. So if you don't want to be upset, don't trade your bike in, sell it privately first. But I think huge selection, and a very interesting walk round, and nice member of staff. So thank you again to that chat. I'm not going to name because it's not fair in case he said anything out of turn, which he didn't. But yeah, nice experience that, and I will be going back for another look periodically, see what they've got. But I'll end on the one bike that I thought was extraordinary value. If I had the money in my pocket, I would have bought it. So I'll finish on that bike. Take care, everybody. I hope you enjoyed that, and I'll see you again soon. Look after yourselves. Right, I'm going to shock you now. That's a 24 plate. Okay. If this has got many miles in it, I'll be surprised. That's got 728 miles, and it's 8.5 grand. That's got to be bargain of the year, isn't it? What the hell are they new? Wow. Wow.